All right, my friends, first lesson on converting between fractions, decimals, and percents. We do this every day with our calendar math. There'll be some that look different, but it's the same idea. So think back to, okay, if we have our fraction, then we write our decimal and we write our percent. Same thing. It gets, I don't want to say complicated, but there are different ways that it can look. So just know, sometimes you have to go backwards, sometimes you go forward, sometimes you start with one, sometimes you start with the other. So it's not always the same type of thing. All right, we'll start with just if the denominator is 100, like it is in calendar math, then the numerator matches the decimal to the hundredth. Right? Because if it's 15 hundredths, well, 15 hundredths we can write as both a fraction and a decimal. But we do have to make sure it ends up in the hundredths place. For example, if it's only 3 hundredths, then we have to make sure we put it in the hundredths place, not the tenths place, which is tempting. Percent means out of 100, cent, like there are 100 cents or a century or a centipede, all has to do with being per 100 or out of 100. So it also matches the numerator and the decimal. All right, let's do some examples. Move this. All right, so say our fraction is 16 hundredths. Well, it has a denominator of 100, so I know the decimal is just going to be to the hundredths place, 16 hundredths, and the percent is going to be 16%. Because again, the percent is always going to be the numerator if the denominator is 100, because it's per 100. 16 parts out of 100, 16%. Say we started with the decimal. Well, it's 21 hundredths, so I can just go and put it over 100. I don't even have to simplify that one. And then if I was going to write a percent, 21 hundredths out of 100, 21%. You can think about moving the decimal place or multiplying by 100 to go from the decimal to the percent, but I really want you to try to think of it as hundredths. Say I started with my percent, 92%. I could do the fraction or the decimal next. Fraction, I can just write my percent out of 100. And then decimal, either it's just that many hundredths, or I could think about it from the fraction, either way. Now this last one, sometimes we get decimals that are not exactly to the hundredths. They might just be to the tenths, or they might be to the thousandths. Either way, let's make it to the hundredths place. Think about, okay, 4 tenths is the same as 40 hundredths, so that's going to be my percent, because percent is the same as how many hundredths I have, because it's out of 100. For my fraction, I could either do 4 tenths, which was the original fraction, or I could write 40 hundredths. We won't worry about simplifying our fractions on this one. All right, so there's some different options. Those are the equivalent fractions, just depending on which decimal they're going with. Your worksheet's going to look very similar to this, where it'll either give you the fraction, the decimal, or the percent, and you have to write the other ones. Let me know if you're stuck, if you need more examples. Just remember, fraction out of 100 matches decimal to the hundredths, which also matches our percent, because this is out of 100. or it's the same as the hundredth. All right, good luck.